This week our Bible reading comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 9. So we are in familiar territory since last week we read chapter 8.
Right.
It's not just back-to-back chapters, but we're continuing the same thought.
Yeah, it's one of those chapter breaks I don't like.
Well, Jeff has never met a chapter break that he does like.
Right.
So there's no surprise there.
Right.
But it is a continuation
Right.
of the same thoughts. As we think about good works, this passage is in the context of giving and supporting brethren.
Right. And that's the thing, David. Just like last week, one of the big takeaways we want to have from the reading this week is it's not just about the money. That it may seem like the good deed is the contribution for the needy saints and the collection of the money for those who are in need. But it's really about the heart that's underneath it, and it's about the other more spiritual, less tangible good works that sit around or caused by or are the source of the giving of the money itself. And so there's a lot more to the good work that's going on here than just some folks generously gave some money for some poor folks.
Well, and speaking of the heart that's behind it, I thought about that phrase in verse 7, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And it occurred to me that if I'm ever doing something for the Lord and I'm resentful about it, for example, if I resent feeling this obligation to come to worship, or I feel resentful because I feel like I need to go visit somebody, or whatever the task is, name the task. If I'm grudging about it, then that right off just needs to tell me something isn't right.
Right.
That's not meant to be the spirit. And I think it illustrates what we were talking about last week, that we're in this zone of checking off the boxes. What are the things I have to do to make God happy with me? And if that's the spirit, then something is fundamentally wrong. And the fundamental problem is with the heart.
That's right. And I think, David, along that line, one of the ways in which the heart goes wrong is sometimes some of us like to do good deeds because it makes us feel good about ourselves.
Right.
Maybe even if we're honest with ourselves, it makes us feel empowered, because, and that's why some of us don't like to be served, ironically, because we like to give because it makes us feel like we're in control, maybe a little sense of power, putting others in our debt. Whereas, part of what this passage reminds us as well when we get to the end of the whole arc here, in those final verses of the chapter you'll see this week, is that as verses 13, 14, and 15 point out, it's really about others being led to not give me thanks for my generosity or whatever good work I've done for them of service. It's about the fact that they glorify God. The more I am forgotten in one sense in this, because sometimes too we get put out that we do good deeds and nobody notices or nobody gives us thanks.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's not the point.
Yeah, that's actually exposing the heart.
It is.
Whenever I don't feel like I got the credit that I deserve.
That's right.
And that sort of illustrates, well, it wasn't really about God or for God. It was really looking for something for me.
And that's the thing in this passage when we go back to the immediate good deed, which is a collection for needy saints, where Paul talks about the relative poverty of the Macedonians themselves, and yet the Macedonians aren't looking for a really nice thank you note and appreciation from the saints in Jerusalem or whatever. What they're what any of us should look for is if God gets glorified because of the good deeds I've done, that's why I do it, not because it makes me feel good about myself or that I'm not dependent upon others or anything else.
So once again, we're back to that same idea of what is the spirit underneath what we're doing. And I think we're going to find as we go through this all year long is that there's a whole lot more to the idea of having zeal for good works than just being excited.
Check the boxes
about doing something for God.
That's right.
I would say I thought there's some language in verse 2 that was important, caught my attention, where he talks about how your zeal has stirred up most of them.
Yeah, and it's contagious.
That's what I was struck with too. This sense that somebody else's passion can kind of rub off on us and stir it in us as well. And I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen someone else's excitement cause someone else to be excited, and I think it works backwards too. Not to go the negative route, but someone sort of discouraged.
The Eeyores of the world.
Yeah. The Eeyores of the world. We'll go around that dark cloud over their head, kind of down and negative about everything. That kind of rubs off too.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe we find a challenge in this for us to ponder whether or not I'm doing what they were doing, and by my zeal stirring up others, or by my lack of zeal being sort of a downer for everybody else.
Yeah.
So ponder that as we go through the reading this week. Two ideas then. What is the heart underneath the good deeds? And do I have the capacity to stir up the zeal of other people? And am I doing that? Let's think about that as we read 2 Corinthians 9 this week.